On today's episode of Flashback Friday in Elvis history, I take you back to October the 10th, 1970, 56 years ago today. Elvis becomes Chief Deputy of Shelby County. You're going to learn that story today, see some cool photos of the king of rock and roll, learn a little bit more about Elvis and his love for badges. So let's get to the show. It's going to be good. So this guy right here is Roy Nixon. Who Roy Nixon was? Well, he's in the famous Memphis Mafia badge picture with Elvis. There he is, I'm pointing at. Roy Nixon was the sheriff of Shelby County starting in 1970 throughout the 70s. He also was the chief deputy under my buddy, Memphis Mafia member Bill Morris. And Bill introduced Roy Nixon to Elvis, and Elvis hit it off with Roy Nixon. And Elvis would end up giving Roy Nixon, well, check this out.
So friends, welcome to the Tiger Man Karate Dojo and Museum by Spa Guy, and we're going to talk about this famous badge picture. This badge that Elvis is holding right here, Roy Nixon gave Elvis, this is Roy, 10-10 in 1970. Yep, 10-10, 1970. And something that's cool is Elvis gave him this TCB right here, that very one. He also gave him a bracelet, that very one. That's the same bracelet that Elvis is wearing, or the same kind, in this photo right here. You see that bracelet? On the back of his, Elvis's, it said crazy. On the back of this one, it said E.P. But if you want to see that and much more, make sure you come to the Tiger Man Karate Dojo and Museum by Spa Guy, and you could see this guy's TCB. That was the sheriff of Shelby County at the time. And Elvis gifted him that TCB. We believe that's one of the first 12 Schwarzenabelesser that he was gifted, because Elvis ordered more on 1019 and 1020. So we believe that the day that he was gifted this badge is the day that he gifted him this. There's some discrepancies about the date that Elvis was given this badge. Some are saying September, but according to the photo, 1010. So don't miss coming to the Tiger Man Karate Dojo and Museum by Spa Guy. You'll want to stand right here opposite Mr. Tiger and get your picture made. Yes, you will.
So yeah, now you can see the TCB gifted from Elvis to Sheriff Nixon at the Tiger Man by Spa Guy, 3217 Louisville Road, 1 mile from Graceland. Don't miss it. It's so cool. Elvis trained karate in that building. So back to the story. October the 10th, 1970, Elvis goes downtown to Memphis at 140 Adams Street, which is the courthouse today. He goes to Sheriff Nixon's office. Sheriff Roy Nixon appoints Elvis special chief deputy of Shelby County and presents Elvis with a badge, just like Elvis loves. Now, Elvis loved his badges, and I'm going to share you really a fun story here pretty soon by another cop in Pittsburgh that tells about Elvis in the hallway there at the hotel that he was guarding when Elvis played Pittsburgh. But back to this one is Roy Nixon gave Elvis this badge that I'm showing you right now on the screen, and you got to think how happy Elvis was. The special chief deputy, Shelby County, Tennessee, Elvis Presley. So imagine Elvis riding up and down the streets there in Memphis, smoking his cigar and pulling you over for speeding. Then getting out and walking up to your car and presenting his badge to you and say he's Deputy Elvis Presley. And you just look at him and smile and be like, really, Elvis, you of all people going to write me a ticket for speeding? Come on, man. So check out what the UPI said about this special day in Elvis's life. It says, Elvis Presley is a special Shelby County Deputy Sheriff, a job that allows the star to carry a pistol. Sheriff Roy C. Nixon confirmed Monday the commission ceremony was held privately in his office Saturday. He said Presley had been an honorary deputy for several years. The sheriff said the change in status was requested by Presley's office. Nixon said he had no plans to call his new special deputy for any law enforcement duties. 2, under Tennessee law, as noted, Presley could have only qualified as a special deputy on such occasions as he was given a specific assignment. Yet Nixon disclaimed any intention of calling him to duty. So there you have it. Roy C. Nixon, October 10th, 1970, a Saturday, in the office there at the courthouse on Adams Street in downtown Memphis. Elvis came chief deputy, not special deputy. And it goes on to say that a frequently asked question on the Shelby County Sheriff website is, was Elvis Presley really a special deputy for Shelby County Sheriff Office? The answer is, he sure was. But yeah, Elvis loved badges. I mean, he flew to Washington, D.C., the most famous picture ever of Elvis and President Nixon. Elvis flew to Washington, really not to see the president, actually to see Joyce, his girlfriend. Look how pretty Joyce is. Hey, Joyce, how you doing if you're watching? So in the midst of hanging out with Joyce in Washington, Elvis decided he wanted a narcs badge. So he writes a letter, goes to the White House. Within that 20 hours or whatever it was, he gets into the Oval Office, asks President Nixon for a badge. Nixon looks at his assistant or one of his guys and says, can we do that? And they say, yeah, I think we can, Mr. President. And he orders Elvis a narcs badge from President Nixon. And Elvis was so happy, guys, that he hugged President Nixon in the Oval Office, just out of the spur of the moment, just being so happy. Elvis loved his badges. And for me to prove it one more time, check out this cool story from the cop that Elvis tried to talk his badge out of.
He said, hey, can I see your badge? And I said, yeah, I took it off. He said, boy, that's nice, and it's intricate, and it's heavy, and he actually held it in his hand. And he said, hey, I collect badges. And I said, oh, well, that's good. He said, you think I can get this one? And I laughed. I thought he was joking, and then it became obvious that he was serious, and I said, Elvis, I'd love to, but I got to show up every day with that, and there's no way that I cannot do that without formally filing a lost or this or that, and that just wouldn't be something that I could do at this point. And he graciously acknowledged that, and no problem at all. And then he turned to my partner and asked him the same thing, and since we both came on the job at the same time, in the academy the same time, we were both in the same boat, so we both declined. But we thought it was kind of neat that he asked us for our badges. From what he and his guys said, he said every time he runs into a situation like that, at least he'd ask them about it, and apparently, from what he said, another guy said, he said he has a lot of badges, so I guess a lot of guys saw fit to give it to him, and I guess they had another means of getting a second, or they were given two, I don't know, but in our cases, we weren't, so we didn't.
So there you have it. Elvis not only tried to get the badge from him, but he also tried to talk the badge out of his partner. What a cool story that is. If you go to Graceland today, which you have to do when you visit Memphis, you have to visit Graceland and the Tiger Man by Spy Guy if you want Elvis history. But if you go to Graceland, you will see some of his badges on display. They have a really cool case in the old slot car room on the tour, so you get to see some of Elvis's badges that I'm showing you right now. And you got to think, man, if you watch this episode, you have to think how proud Elvis was of those badges. He wanted to be a cop, guys. Elvis Presley, if he was not Elvis, he probably ended up a cop, riding around the mean streets of Memphis, pulling people over and just doing his thing, TC being just a little different. But Elvis loved badges, and he is, as of 56 years ago today, October the 10th, 1970, appointed by Sheriff Roy Nixon. He is Chief Deputy of Shelby County, Tennessee, Elvis Presley. So I wonder what he would think about old Tennessee now the National Guards are coming to the town. Let me know in your comments what Elvis would be doing today in 2025 if he still lived at Graceland in Memphis. And don't double dribble. Until next time, I'll see you down the road. Thanks for watching this Flashback Friday in Elvis history.